Chess friends, I'm doing great today, and I'm feeling really happy about all the love and support you give me. Because of that, I want to share some King's Gambit traps with you, because I am the chess king and I want to help you improve too. These traps and tactics can be handy in your games. Let's dive into a game and explore these together. E4, E5, then white advances to F4, initiating the King's Gambit. Black chooses not to accept the gambit and develops their bishop, blocking white from castling. White moves the knight, dealing with a potential queen check and targeting black's pawn. Black protects the pawn, anticipating white's common d4 move in the King's Gambit. White then plays c3, preparing for the move d4. Black plays queen to e7, indirectly targeting the pawn. White proceeds with d4, as anticipated. After exchanges, black ends up with an extra pawn along with a check. White can block with either the queen or bishop, but chooses to move the king, forfeiting the ability to castle. This move may seem questionable, but it's actually a clever trap. Let's see what unfolds next. The bishop is threatened, so it retreats. However, black has made a serious mistake here. Can you identify the winning move for white? Initially, there's a bishop check, regardless of black's response. If black blocks with any piece, white follows up with rook to e1, leading to a decisive advantage. The king is sheltered by the queen, so she must sacrifice herself for the king, resulting in a winning position for white. Indeed, even if black moves the king after the bishop check, white can still play rook to e1, then, after the queen moves, the rook advances, delivering a devastating checkmate to the king. The next strategic move in the King's Gambit unfolds in the Falkbeer counter gambit with the move d5. White captures the pawn, and black extends another pawn, transitioning into the Nimzowitsch counter gambit. Instead of capturing, white plays queen to e2, targeting the king directly. Black captures the d-pawn, prompting white to take with the queen. White accepts the invitation, delivering a check. Instead of blocking with other pieces, black moves the bishop in between, tempting the queen deeper into black's territory. Now, what move would you make as white? Are you considering capturing the g7 pawn? Well, a white player rated 2300 made that move and took the pawn. However, they fell into a trap starting with bishop to f6. The queen has only one safe square, which is g3. Then came the crushing move, bishop to h4, leading to the familiar scene of sacrificing the queen for a sweet victory. Continuing with the King's Gambit accepted line, white moves the knight to f3, black defends their pawn. White cannot capture it since the queen guards the pawn, so, white develops the bishop. Black strengthens the defense of the pawn by adding another defender, forming a strong pawn chain on the king's side. White aims to disrupt the pawn chain by attacking the g-pawn. Black responds by advancing this pawn too, refusing to allow white to break the chain easily. If white captures, black can simply recapture, eliminating the doubled pawns and, more importantly, maintaining the solid pawn structure. And let me share a quote with you. Sometimes you don't need to hear their excuses or what they have to say for themselves because their actions already spoke the truth. White, thinking strategically, made a surprising move. Can you guess what it was? He executed a stunning knight sacrifice, placing the knight on e5. This move threatens various attacks, like forking the queen and rook, and also presents a bishop check. Consequently, black chooses to capture the knight. Then, white unveils their clever plan, and the excitement starts. First, there's a queen check. The only legal move for black is to move the king to e7. Then comes another queen check. Once again, the only option is to move the king. Another check follows, the king retreats, and finally, queen to e5 delivers a stunning checkmate. The king is checkmated right in front of his own pieces. Sure, let's continue. In this game, we once again have the King's Gambit accepted line, with white playing knight to f3 and then advancing to g4. However, this time, white takes a different approach by immediately challenging black's pawn with the move h4. Black advances their pawn forward, attacking the knight. The knight then moves to the center, and the bishop attacks the knight, initiating the Kieseritzky gambit. Here, black sacrifices the pawn, and white accepts the gambit. Next, black plays d5, another aggressive move that targets the center and opens up a diagonal for the bishop. Despite this, white remains undeterred and takes whatever comes their way. That turns out to be a significant error. With the e-file wide open, black strikes with a queen check on e7, white can't block with the queen or bishop, due to the knight hanging. Consequently, white is compelled to move their king. Then, the bishop jumps into action, delivering another check. The only safe square for the king is f3, black continues the attack on the king, this time with bishop g4 check. White captures the bishop, but the king is now vulnerable and moving around the board. Black enjoys this situation. The knight then joins the attack with knight f6 check, the king retreats to f3, and finally, black concludes in style with queen e4 checkmate, ending the game decisively, in the Falkbeer counter-gambit variation. After f4, black played an amazing move d5, we have knight f3, protecting the h4 square from the queen attack. Black responds by capturing the pawn, and white recaptures with the knight. Here, black offers an exchange of knights, but white doesn't accept right away. Instead, white brings out the bishop, pinning black's knight to the king. Now, the knight is under attack from two pieces but has only one defender. Black seems to overlook the threat and continues by developing the other knight. This gives white a chance to capture the knight immediately. After the pawn captures, white's bishop captures, forking the king and rook. Black responds by blocking with the bishop, but then white captures the rook as well. At this point, it may seem like black is in a dire position. Surprisingly, black finds a powerful move with bishop to g4. This move catches white's queen off guard, and there is no way to save her. In this position, the engine indicates almost a 3-point advantage for black, making it an easy win from here. The next trap in the king's gambit occurs when black accepts the pawn sacrifice, and after bishop c4, delivers a check with the queen, a logical move since black's knight hasn't moved yet. The king shifts to the side, followed by bishop c5 from black, showing intent to wrap up things quickly. However, white has different plans. Firstly, white pushes d4, pushing the bishop back. Then, white plays knight f3, forcing the queen to retreat. Black, however, decides not to retreat and stays put, protecting the pawn and maintaining pressure on white's king side. Black plays queen to g4, which is exactly what white wanted. Indeed, the deadly move for white in this position is bishop to f7, delivering a check. If black takes the bishop, which happened in the game, then white can execute the brilliant knight to e5 check, forking the king and queen. Additionally, this move creates a discovered attack on the queen, giving white the option to capture in whichever way is most favorable. If black becomes aware of the danger and plays a move like king to f8 instead, white can play h3, attacking the queen. The only move for the queen is to go on g3, and now what? You just develop your other knight. If black tries to be greedy and captures the bishop, white has the lethal move knight to e2. The only safe square for black's queen in this situation would be g6. Indeed, after knight to e5, no one can save the vulnerable queen. White enjoys more than a 7-point advantage in this position, making it a straightforward win from here. And let me share a quote with you. Self-discipline is the difference between I hope and I will. So let's move into our another game, starting with the Falkbeer counter gambit. Black plays d5, the knight is developed, black captures, and white recaptures. Next, the bishop is brought out, covering a diagonal. Black develops a knight, attacking the center, which white defends against. White then attacks the knight again with the queen, but this move isn't the main point of white's strategy. There's another tricky idea that will become apparent soon. After knight c6, offering to exchange knights, white reveals their trick with knight takes on f7, forking the queen and rook. If black takes with the king, then after a queen check, white captures the bishop, gaining a clear pawn advantage and also exposing the king to attack. Therefore, in this position, black decides not to take the knight and instead saves the queen. White happily captures the rook. However, black has a deadly plan in response. Knight d4 is played, targeting the queen and also setting up a threatening attack on the king and rook. White aims to defuse both threats in one move, so the only option is queen to d1. Then, black plays knight f3 check, which is a powerful move. If white moves to a certain square, black has some nasty attacks lined up with the bishop. Therefore, white decides to eliminate the knight. After pawn takes back, there's a discovered check with the queen. The white king is in a tough spot and has no safe moves. Consequently, white is forced to sacrifice their bishop. Indeed, black doesn't bother to take the sacrificed bishop. Instead, black plays the brilliant move f2, delivering another check. The only legal move for white is king to f1, and now it's a checkmate in one move. The winning move is bishop to h3, resulting in a beautiful checkmate. And if you are enjoying my content, then just click on the like and share button. So in a game between top-rated players Igor Efimov and David Bronstein, the game begins with the king's gambit accepted variation, then white moves the knight to f3, defending h4, black's knight moves to f6, attacking e4, white advances the pawn forward, the knight moves aside, also defending the pawn, another knight is brought out, and then black plays pawn d6, black seeks to address the strong central pawn by offering an exchange. In response, white develops the bishop, black captures the pawn, and white recaptures. This move marks a turning point in the game. While it may seem that white is in a good position due to the potential attack on the weak f7 square, the knight's move to e5 has also weakened the h4 square. Consequently, black's queen seizes the opportunity, and delivers a check. The king moves to safety on the side. In response to the threat, black offers to exchange bishops, which white accepts. Black is pleased with this development because his main goal was not to exchange bishops but rather to remove white's bishop from an important diagonal. Now, let's see how black takes advantage of this situation. Knight g3 check is a powerful move. Moving to either of these two squares is risky due to discovered checks, so white opts for g1. Black's bishop then attacks the king with a check. White blocks with d4. And now the bishop captures that pawn as well. The situation is complex. The knight and bishop are both hanging, but white cannot capture them directly. However, white tries taking the bishop, because it's the best move under the circumstances. After the queen captures the bishop, black unleashes the stunning move knight e2 check, forking the king and queen. Since the queen is hanging, white is forced to capture with the knight, but this leads to a decisive outcome. Black finishes the game with the crushing move queen to e1, delivering a stunning checkmate. Indeed, if white's bishop had been on a square where it could capture the knight, white could have avoided the checkmate. However, black's smart play led to a position where white couldn't utilize the bishop in that manner, ultimately trapping their opponent effectively. Here's a puzzle for you. In this position, it's white's turn to move, and you need to find the best move for white. Share your answers in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the other videos on your screen. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.